Now before you start this video, you're going to make sure you have a red pen with you. This is going to be very important for our learning strategy. So we've already learned about the compressor, the vapor pump, sucks in low pressure vapor, pumps out high pressure vapor, moves the refrigerant. The next component we're going to talk about is this line right here. It's called a discharge line, also called a hot gas line. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our refrigeration cycle and we're going to use our red pen and we're going to make a mark coming out of our compressor, and we're going to put little arrows on it so that we know it's coming out of the compressor, and we're going to add both names, discharge line, also known as a hot gas line. So it's two names. I can call this a discharge line. I can also call this a hot gas line. Now that what's happening in this line, the state of refrigerant, that's also important to know as well. So we're also going to add those words in here. The state of the refrigerant is a high temperature, high pressure, superheated vapor. And we're going to talk about superheat later. We're just going to add these to our notes. Doesn't matter how sloppy your handwriting is, the point is to get the words. It's a discharge line, also called a hot gas line, a high temperature, high pressure, superheated vapor. We're going to talk about superheat later, so don't get worried about it. But notice how small this line is going to be in our drawing, and notice how small it actually is in our system as well. Most of the time, your compressor is going to be located near your condensing coil, altogether outside. In this case, this special line has its own name. It's important not to get this mixed up. Later we're going to talk about a liquid line that looks similar, but they are completely different components. In here, because it's a vapor pump, only vapor is coming out of this system. So it's also, another word for vapor is gas. So it's a high temperature, high pressure, superheated vapor. This is actually the hottest part of the whole system. If you were to touch this line right here, it would literally burn you. It could get so incredibly hot. We want to make sure we keep the temperature of this line below 230 degrees, 250 degrees, so that we don't burn the oil. We'll go into much more detail about that, but this line right here is a short line, it has its own name. It's going to be going into the condensing coil. Now another little thing I want to point out over here, as we can see, this discharge line right here splits into 1, 2, and 3 locations. That's just making it more energy efficient. Second law of thermodynamics, increase the surface area, so now we're having refrigerant enter that condensing coil in 3 different locations to help better have heat transfer. So it's still 1 discharge line, now it's 3 discharge lines. It's going to enter that condensing coil in 3 separate locations, but all of this is the discharge line. If you were to put your gauges, some systems will have a port right here, and you can actually hook your red gauge with the red hose to the port right here, and it's going to give you the high pressure side, because this is high temperature, high pressure, superheated vapor. But this line is a very special name. The only accessory that really we see on this line is going to be a muffler. When we get the heat pumps, we'll put a reversing valve on. We get the commercial refrigeration, we can use oil separators and some other things. But it's a very simple line. Typically the only thing you see on there is going to be a muffler, and we'll talk about mufflers a little bit later on. Very simple line, but also very important. So many times students get this line mixed up with the liquid line. It's not, it's completely separate. I'm saying it over and over again because I need you to really understand and appreciate that. Discharge line, hot gas line, high temperature, high pressure, superheated vapor.